Hi, I'm Professor Catherine Lido, and I'm here to talk to you about the PASCAL International Observatory. So you may have heard of this international multi-stakeholder center, but you may not know that we at the University of Glasgow lead just one of 5 different hubs. So we lead the European hub. We also have the Australasia, Africa, Southeast Asian, Philippines, and North American hubs of PASCAL. PASCAL stands for Place and Social Capital and Lifelong Learning. And we are very pleased to encourage educational partnerships, funded research, and networking. It started as an outcome of the OECD conference in 2002 in Melbourne that was on learning regions. I'll talk to you in a little minute about what we mean by learning cities and learning regions, but it was then structured around a similar style to the OECD, led by Joseph Convitz, and with the sub-regions each trying to move forward streams of thematic work in different areas. So it is a global stakeholder partnership with the aim of educational partnerships, research, and policy collaborations for real-world impact that are all loosely around place-based social equalities. So the key concepts that underpin PASCAL, we are academics, we are local government stakeholders, we are even international governmental and non-governmental organizations interested in lifelong learning, learning societies, placemaking and place management, social capital, and more broadly, learning cities and regions. We share the overall aim of facilitating stakeholders to implement policies and practice aimed at improving quality of living and working in city regions. We do this via creating social capital, sharing our knowledge, exchanging our partnerships, and even engaging in funded consultancy. We offer a global platform which includes our website, our briefing paper series, conferences, as well as networking opportunities that contribute to economic and social development of city regions, sharing current strategic innovation, information, and best practices in place management, social capital, and learning. So you can see that collaboration and knowledge exchange is at the forefront of PASCAL. We are a hugely diverse network made up of hundreds of city regions all over the world. You can see a map and a list of them on the PASCAL International Observatory website. But more importantly, we do engage in higher level stakeholder conversations. We work very closely with organizations like UNESCO and OECD in terms of input for things like regulatory frameworks, metrics, and capturing indicators of lifelong learning performance. But the middle one is definitely our strongest experience, which is bringing together regional government stakeholders, knowledge generating organizations, and even enterprises to take forward funding initiatives, to take forward policy development, and to signpost different forms of practice around the world. So communication and our infrastructure is something that we're really working on. We have the PASCAL website, but also the hubs each have a web presence, and it's very easy to get involved. So we will be hosting some internal University of Glasgow webinars coming up for people who are interested in PASCAL and what it can do for them, largely in terms of internationalization, increasing your networks, increasing your profile, or finding people to work with for educational and research partnerships. So the last one is we also facilitate access. We're very fortunate with the people that we have giving of their time freely, who have extensive experience in regional government, in educational and training institutions at the highest level, and they can support our innovation and our current needs. So the audience, for instance, for our briefing papers, we do have a research stream, but we also have a real emphasis on engagement with policymakers and decision makers, and the same for how we promote in terms of not just the rigor of the projects that we do, the methodologies and the outputs that we produce, academic and non-academic outputs, but that they're actually used and taken forward and have real impact in the government space, in a UNESCO Learning City space, or in some sort of regional learning city development plan, for instance. Which brings us to learning cities. So a really important strand of our work is our Learning Cities network. Learning Cities was brought into play by UNESCO and UNESCO Institute for Lifelong Learning specifically. I'll talk to you about their framework in a minute, but just note that we do have annual Learning Cities conferences. The last one was in Taipei. There's actually one going on this month in the Philippines, and it is a great place to come together and meet diverse stakeholders. The last topic was addressing sustainable development goals in an ever-changing context. So sustainability is a really important one. This is from the Beijing conference, the UNESCO Beijing conference, I believe it was 2013, where they operationalized 42 key indicators of a learning city. And there are formal processes to go through to join the global network of learning cities, the GNLC, of which Glasgow City is now one. It's been active in the learning city space for many, many years, but only in the past few years did it become officially applied for and received membership of the GNLC. And it shows how you need to mobilize political will, governance, resources to implement lifelong learning in all aspects of our citizens' lives to meet the higher up, wider economic, social cohesion and sustainable outcomes of a learning city region. For PASCAL in particular, we have active networks, and you can see on our website, they do webinars, seminars, joint projects like Erasmus exchange programs, mobility programs in the following themes: reimagining inclusive economic futures, implementing sustainable approaches for holistic development, meeting today's challenges for a better future, connecting urban and rural learning initiatives, harnessing museums, heritage, and education. Our own Maggie McCall helps co-lead that with Henrik Zibzan of the European Museums Association. So that is one that we've been particularly active in. Addressing disadvantage to build inclusive learning cities, and faith and spirituality is another very vibrant active space led by Annie Tubaji and colleagues at Swansea. We also have featured sustainable special interest groups in cultural literacy, sustainability, and peace building. We have some peace building webinars coming up, and these rotate and these change to keep relevant. So these are just some of the past projects that you can find on the PASCAL website. They are all global. They have multi-country stakeholder partnerships, not just European partnerships, but outside. And most of these are in the area of operationalizing quality assurance and metrics for lifelong learning regions. And the biggest of one probably was the PASCAL University's Regional Engagement Peer Project. So you can read about that. That had a refresh of funding in 2017 and has provided some models of emerging economies. So working in circular economies, local economies, and green sustainable economies is also a focus. We had the Strengthening Regional Engagement in Asia and Africa, SUEA, report, which has 18 case studies and 5 thematic reports. It does relate to global challenges. and the SDGs, but we also had two other successful GCRF projects, which would not have happened without the underpinning PASCAL partnerships, such as Sustainable Healthy Learning Cities and Gender Journeys in India, Rwanda, and the UK, which were in part tapped PASCAL memberships for instance, the Gender Journeys, which was led by Barbara Reid and Srabani Mitra, Bonnie Slade, and myself, with our Rwandan colleagues who are very active in PASCAL. So we have a number of impact type reports in the area of sustainable development goals, such as this one from United Cities and Local Governments. And you can see all of our briefing papers and selected writings on our website, which include topics like local and regional economic development, community development and placemaking, how universities engage in their civic mission, and a whole selection from our partners, some co-badged with Cradle, which you know is an internal research center. We are increasingly working also with ROC to try and move forward some projects in the area of Peace Plus and peace building. We also have some psychology and nature for nurture overlap with our amazing colleagues Rada at Rutgers, and continuing the output into books and texts from the Harnessing Museums Heritage and Education work I mentioned of Maggie and Henrik. So you can go ahead and look at some of our briefing papers, textbooks, project reports. This is just a picture of some of our directorate. We have an executive board, an advisory board, and Learning City Network lead. So you can see it's quite a complex machine. You can also see it's quite a truly diverse and international group of humans, diverse in every way, nationally, gendered, demographically, interdisciplinarily, role in regard to academic, NGO, governmental, and so on. So if you're interested, please email catherine.lido@glasgow.ac.uk, and I will add you to our upcoming in-person webinar for University of Glasgow interest. And I will shortly, hopefully, be updating the web presence for our hub. And I thank you for your time and your interest in what has really been, for me personally, since my involvement around 2015 to 2016, a real window into engagement with the world, with different ways of working and different ways of thinking, and a host of different European horizon and beyond funding opportunities. I've been the deputy director for several years now. I've stepped up as director for the European hub in Mike Osborne's retirement. But it's been my absolute honor and pleasure to support this work from our own in-person Glasgow conference back in, I think, 2016, up till now, where we are have been seen as historically the strongest and most flourishing of the 5 hubs, I would like to say. And the outputs have just been ripples and ripples of impact far, far beyond what's badged as PASCAL work. So thank you for your time and your attention, and I hope to be in touch with you soon.